I figured because I was a little under the weather and I was convalescing, that maybe we could start with you singing TV Police today. Come on, give us one. Give us one. Okay. So we come in, we've done the theme tune. 3, 2, 1.
Owain Yeoman and Tim Kang aren't real cops, but they're
TV Police!
the TV Police.
TV Police!
Oh, where have we been hiding that for the last 4 episodes?
Okay. You gotta wait. You gotta build it up.
I gotta build it.
Right? I took a page out of your...
Oh. Wait there. Lift it a little higher. We got some branding on there.
Now, here we go. Hang on.
Okay. That's very PC right now.
I changed it to better reflect our...
Big head. Big quench.
Mentalist style.
The big quench. We've now been live for just over a week, and we've already hit over 10,000 streams. So I just want to say how amazing that is and how much we appreciate people going out there and downloading the show and showing their love and support from myself, from Tim. Thank you for being here. Can't wait to have you for the next 149 episodes.
a few more to go. We have a few more to go.
Exactly. A few more to go. So season 1, episode 5, Redwood. Here we are. A lot of interesting things, and a lot of, like you say, doubling down on themes, on current tropes and motifs that have been coming up in the show. I really feel like we're finding our feet now. I'll kick off today with the synopsis of the episode. The girl is found stabbed to death in a forest, and her amnesiac best friend is the prime suspect, although Patrick Jane has doubts and attempts to jog her memory. So there are certain constructs that are quite difficult to say with an American accent when you're not an American. I think the Americans have the rhotic hard R. I'm thinking of like water, daughter. This one, I'm 5 episodes into my new gig as an American. So you can imagine my delight when I get a line that says, Cara Palmer's car alarm. Because that's
There was so many of those.
Cara Palmer's car alarm.
Yes.
Boy, that was a doozy. And I remember at the time, I think I was still working with an accent coach. I called him and I said, I got this construct that I'm not very happy with. Cara Palmer's car alarm. It's like a lot of chewing. But I think it kind of, I guess it feeds back to your point that Bruno really, he knew how to dig deep with those names, didn't he? We had a few, we had a few in this episode.
Yeah. And not only that, well, first of all, let's just bring it out into the open. Rulon Farnes.
Thank you. I knew you'd made a note of it.
But going back to finish the previous point, I can imagine how hard that might be for a Brit to hit the hard R's, but there were plenty of other constructs that Amanda and myself that were just as hard. And the Cara Palmer car alarm, that reminds me of some, and we will make sure we note them. But yes, Rulon Farnes. There we go.
Rulon Farnes. What's interesting is that he was played by a guy called W. Earl Brown. I remember him vividly because he was great. He was just that right level of seedy. And I guess this is the classic misdirect, isn't it? A guy so gross and a character so... not the actor. I hate to add, not the actor. The character.
Yeah,
a character so gross that you immediately go, well, it must be him because he fits the profile. And then after a minute, you're like, well, it can't be him because he's just so on the nose.
Yeah.
And when your name is Rulon Farnes, the chances are you're going to be remembered because there aren't too many Rulons kicking about, right?
Not to my knowledge.
It was a real treat for me to see Michael O'Neill, who plays the sheriff's captain. I'd had the good fortune of working with him on other projects, and he's just amazing. Like, I believe him in everything.
To this episode, or
I'd worked on the 9 with him. So that was prior to this. What I love about Michael is that he instantly makes a character believable. And I believed right away that this was a small town sheriff. And we've now progressed. It is. And we've progressed that theme of Small town versus more high tech. So the CBI comes in, they're the superior tech outfit, and we've seen it a number of times already in a few episodes. We come in, we take over the local PD's
Lisbon
operation.
comes in strong once again.
Yep.
Bulldozing through.
Well, it's a great episode for Lisbon too, because I think she now is put squarely in the line of fire. So again, yes, Jane gets results, but he also really puts us in it. And he puts the team in great danger. And this was a very formative episode in terms of Jane's past. It's the first time, I believe, and one of the only times that we see in flashback form Jane's daughter and wife. You remember that little flashback sequence on the piano? Bonus points if you can remember their names. Now, I knew the daughter, but I didn't know the wife.
Okay, let me think.
By think, do you mean look it up?
I'm thinking. Hang on.
Yeah, you're doing some good thinking. Why are your eyes moving while you're thinking?
Well, it's...
Your eyes move in a way that suggests that you're reading.
And even if I'm reading, I still can't find it.
That's amazing. I can actually see the reflection of Mentalist Wiki in your eyeballs, and you're still not getting it. I know that the daughter was called Charlotte. I actually felt very floored by that moment where the woman's playing, I think it's Moonlight Sonata, and it takes her back.
Wasn't it For Elise?
For Elise, thank you. And it takes him back to his daughter playing it with the wife. But what I love is there's all this damage, but even when he's in his private remembrance, it's still so insulated. It's becoming clearer and clearer to me that Jane almost vicariously works out his own catharsis through other people's suffering. And now we see him with Nicole Gilbert, forcing her to remember, to go through the trauma. And it almost feels to me like he's exercising his own grief.
Sure.
He's also just full of so much guesswork. We've
gone over that, right? Like he's grasping at straws to exorcise those demons. He's trying anything and everything to get through it.
I guess you could say that Patrick Jane arguably has nothing better to do.
Jane needs the group. He needs that family just as much as we may need him in order to close cases. You made that comment. He doesn't necessarily need to be there.
He doesn't need to be there. I mean, it's more of a question of how long does this guy stick around solving other people's crimes?
That's right, because he originally went in it to track down Red John. He doesn't need to be in this Nicole Gilbert, Cara Palmer case. I think he uses that as a form of therapy.
The first thing that really stood out to me was Griffith Park. So I wasn't sure because a lot of the rapids couldn't place exactly where this was, but I'm assuming it's sort of mid to northern Cali or something. Time-honored tradition of wanting to ruin everything. We shot that in Griffith Park in LA, which at the time was lovely for me because it was...
You know your California terrain.
I'm not a native like you, but I'm getting there. And after 20-something years, and I still can't find my way home. I remember that feeling of filming in Griffith Park because it was between my house and the studio. Yeah. And I used to ride my motorbike through Griffith Park every day. And it was the best commute. And I had a 15-minute commute from my house, and I drove through one of the most beautiful and very scarce wooded areas of LA, through there to go to work at Warner Brothers. So it was extra fun also to now have the ability to film there. When we filmed in Griffith Park a few times, right?
Yeah. I had the same situation too. I lived about 15 minutes. My call time was 8 o'clock. I'd get up at like 7:30 and get there early, like 5 minutes early. It was that close and such a luxury. Oh, loved it.
That doesn't happen. Most times it's like 4:30 a.m. call somewhere in the middle of rural somewhere, and you've had to take a bus and a plane and goodness knows what else to get there. So it was with great fondness that I saw Griffith Park. I wasn't in that initial scene with you guys, but it was an example to me of big town versus small town mentality, because they're doing all of the business and everyone's going about their job. But Jane comes in right at the end and says, "You checked under the car, right?" No, we didn't check under the car.
Was it easier for Lisbon to set the tone and we can establish our characters in a small town as opposed to, say, if CBI went into the LAPD or the LA County Sheriffs?
She made it very clear. She said, we don't help out, we take over.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
So I think there was no doubt.
it's easier to say that to a small town sheriff
Sure.
than to somebody from LAPD or LA
Yes.
County Sheriffs. So it's much easier to establish the team and Lisbon's authority, it's that CBI's authority in that type of an environment rather than, because we did go to all these small town situations in the first few episodes, right?
We did, and I think that it really doubles down on the idea of us as this traveling band. And
Right.
we do have the jurisdiction, like you say. I think it ends up being another opportunity to enforce the importance of the CBI, but also to enforce the importance of our authority figures like Lisbon. I guess there's only so many times you want to see Lisbon beating up on us. So if we establish that she is
Going to beat up
not
on other
just
people.
beat up on other people, you know, and I think even Jane points it out. He says, she gets better. Don't worry. Not a morning person. So I think you're absolutely right. And we see that in full. I thought the girl who was playing Nicole Gilbert was fantastic. And
I did as
again, the way that Jane gets people to come into his inner circle of trust is remarkable. We see her really being taken care of. He says to her, nothing bad's going to happen. I kept coming back to the idea that it was because he had been through these same things. I remember interviewing the parents, and they were very sweet.
That was a great moment, seeing Rigsby and Van Pelt in the field and enjoying that they're out there, not answering phone calls, all day long.
Well, I think there'd been a bit of a pattern of establishing Van Pelt at the computer. Amanda had talked about that and said, probably shouldn't have been on the computer early on because that got me
the computer gig. Yeah.
The computer gig. But I think there is a really nice moment where you feel like, I guess, the younger elements of the team are now being allowed to stretch their wings. I remember feeling also as an actor, it was a nice confidence exercise to be able to now branch off independent from the team. I guess we should probably do our one word remembrance, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Do you have a word?
I do. All right, here we go. So here's my first word. Okay.
Awesome. Okay.
And in a nod to the Mentalist definition, let's see. Oh, you know what? Let's bring it back here.
I love that you've done this. A noun. Yes.
I did the Mentalist definition.
Amazing.
Right.
Very good.
Yeah,
very good.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now my half word is...
Oh, snot. Little throwback to episode 3.
Nod to you. So
thank you.
Yeah.
To me. Okay. This is my word. Oh, it didn't. That would have been so great if it stuck. Here we go. We'll try that again. Oh,
that's all right.
Come on.
We got it.
All right. Can you see it?
Yes. Ketchup.
Almost. Ketchup. Hey.
Ketchup.
Now, that's how Americans spell ketchup, right?
Yeah.
Because there's this, right? So what is this?
What
is that?
Yeah, catsup, exactly right.
What is catsup?
Yeah,
is that it? I thought there was an excellent continuance of the idea of the police having rules as well. Anyone who is wanting to go into the services, specifically the police, does have to have a healthy respect for what are the rules. Whereas Jane is so loosey-goosey.
I don't care.
I don't care about those rules. Just take the MP3 player out. Yeah. And I thought that also led us into another wonderful theme, which was the power of music. And that was a very, very prevalent theme. The recall of that. Yeah. And it was interesting to see that, whether it was to Patrick Jane, whether it was to Nicole Gilbert's character. And I think that just enforced that sense of Jane is every victim. Jane is every victim that we go through episodically. There are little elements of Jane's damage and Jane's hurt. And I think that was a very clever device that I'd never really realized. One thing that you and I haven't talked about just yet is the presence of red in the titles. Mm-hmm. And that's such a big ongoing thing. Do you know how many titles had red in it?
The specific word red, I do not.
Yeah. No, I don't
I did appreciate that we went into even shades of red. Carnelian ink, right? That was the biggest one.
Crimson Casanova.
Crimson, yes. That was nice. But I don't know. Do you know?
I don't. And then one of a couple of things happened. They either went, we didn't expect to go this long, and now we've run out of red words.
We need carnelian and crimson now. Yeah, right.
Or there was a move away, and I suspect it's closer to this, that as the Red John storyline begins to get wrapped up, the colors reflect that. When did you become aware of the red thing? Was that early on?
I would say these first 5 episodes, I was like, why are we doing the red? Okay. Yeah.
Red John, get it, yeah. The pacing of the show is a very interesting thing. You don't really know from episode to episode or from season to season how much story you've got left. Was that a similar feeling when you did Magnum? Episode to episode and season to season, there was never really a sense of how much can we build these things out, right?
Well, I think for a show like Magnum, it was different because it existed before. We would directly dip into storylines from
the
original. Yeah. And so it afforded us a little bit more flexibility with regards to that. If we're at an impasse as far as how to build out this new world, this new version, just go back to the old tried and true, and then get our bearings, and then now we can extend it a little bit further. I feel like with our show, they're throwing stuff against the wall and seeing what sticks, and I think. Really did just a fantastic job through the rest of this season and beyond of gauging how much to build out that story, when we need to revisit the Red John saga or when to go out into these small towns. It was really kind of a masterclass of keeping that pacing so that it stays interesting.
I agree. And I think there's also, when you see it done well, you realize that there truly is a formula to shows like this.
Absolutely.
And it would be wonderful to be able to distill that in a bottle and just say, great, this is the key, or this is the ingredient to a hit show.
It depends on the personnel, right? What we're bringing to the table and how we gel, that catapults us. That definitely moves things forward in a way that you can't do if we're not firing. Everybody's firing.
I agree. And I think you can take all of those ingredients, and if they're not gelling, and if you're not getting all those things, then it doesn't make for anything. I've been on so many sets where everyone has been convinced that this is the one. But when you are on one that is the one, it really does have a rhythm or a flow to it that you can't quite define. And that to me was the prevailing memory of these opening few episodes. I want to say that episodes 3 or 4, I think we were the number one show on television then. I think it was as early as that. I have a DVD framed with the TV guide listing on it. And it says something like, no, this isn't a mind trick. The freshman drama, The Mentalist, has topped the Nielsen ratings. And we had 23 million viewers. Right. I mean, can you imagine that today? Yeah. I know that the TV landscape has changed unrecognizably. And now you're lucky if you get 7 people tuning in. But there's just so many choices. But the idea that 23 million people were simultaneously... I can't even put a size gauge on that. There was also a huge amount of guesswork still going on in this episode. For me, the final reveal of the pineapple being the thing that it still left an awful lot to
out of left field.
So we're looking for a guy who wears glasses, who's well built and smells like pineapple. I mean. That's still pretty. And was the pineapple smell specific to his air freshener, or was this a guy who also liked to maybe have pineapple deodorant or aftershave?
I think it was literally the air freshener, and the pineapple got on him, right? And so Nicole could smell it. So
smell the pineapple.
The pineapple air freshener cologne.
I remember being quite struck a few times with the theatricality of the way that this was shot. This was a director who liked to show you asides of characters. So we had Michael's character turning around, who's this guy? And then we had Lisbon facing into camera. It became a little bit of a thing, and it worked quite well because it had a little bit of a commentary effect on it. Yeah. When you have a small community like that, Sullivan's Tavern, here are the people, here are the girls. And it's said a few times, the mom and dad say it, Michael's character says it too. you don't have a choice when you grow up in a small town. And I say this as someone who grew up in a small town, and everyone was either related to everyone or knew everyone. I think then the idea of gut hunches and what you know about people or what you think you know about people, those things do become a little bit applicable. And so what we're seeing is Michael's character, who is obviously an unremittingly good guy, saying, well, all of these guys are good people. But in typical mentalist fashion, looking back with hindsight, we're shown a tease of our guy because he's very present. And I didn't notice it until I was rewatching it, just how much we're tipping it gently beforehand.
Where was that? Where did that happen for you? When Jane said, you thought of something, you thought of someone. When did we tip that it was our guy? So
there was a couple of little things, and maybe I was just reading into it too heavily. One was there was quite a noted push into him as you were seeing the search party, and you see him like lifting the bush. And the reason it struck me was because it looked exactly like the kind of thing that you would do if you weren't looking for someone. Like, check under that bush, she's not there. We're always, the show playfully sort of teases these things, and this is why having a rewatch is fun, because I wouldn't have noticed that. Like, he comes in hot, also the suspect. The guy who ends up being the killer. And we see that sort of small town mentality when he says, well, apparently some big city girl got stabbed, and the friend was X, Y, and Z. And again, those little devices, looking back on it now, you're like, well, that's obviously the killer. Because there's just a little bit of importance thrown on a character up for now, and then he goes away again. I actually thought that it might be the guy who was with the dog, because they were laying such emphasis on this dog.
Right.
Do you remember? With Dexter, I was going to say, do you remember that? Now, was the show Dexter?
Line, yeah. I love that line, too. He said...
best dog in the county.
Jane said, can you tell how fast Nicole was moving, like in the back of a truck or being... And he said... Dexter can tell how fast Nicole was moving. I'm just walking behind him. Right? I was like, that was great. That was a great moment. Like, that
is why Dexter is the best.
Yeah. Ask Dexter how fast Nicole was moving. I'm just walking behind him.
Meanwhile, cut to the Bloodhound, and all the Bloodhound looked like he wanted was lunch.
I thought it was interesting because Carl, I believe, was on site that day. And as we are looking at the crime scene, Lisbon and Cho discover the tire tracks. And I remember Cho puts down an index card, like a folded index card to mark the tire tracks so that we can get a mold of it. And this is kind of that detail that I was very intrigued by. Why are we putting down an index card? Where are the little, the standard tents, the yellow with the number on there, or the little wire with the little flag on it? And Carl had mentioned to me, when we're out of either the flags or those yellow tents, you just grab whatever you have and just use the index card, just fold it in half, make a little tent, and set it down on the crime scene. And I was like, oh, that's great. You got to just roll with it and do whatever you need to do. But then I was thinking, what is Cho doing with a stack of index cards? Right? He doesn't have the flag. He doesn't have the official yellow number 10, but he's got a stack of index cards just in case.
Could you not just have brought the tent things? Like,
right.
I wanted to make sure it's very Cho though. I feel like Cho is like, he's so keen on the backup plan that the backup plan's there. He's got the stack. The backup. 2 is 1 and 1 is none. It's that old military saying. I think for sure Cho is like, okay, heavy on the backup. What do you mean you're out of tents? That was probably Lisbon's job to bring the little yellow tents. And it's fine. I've got 75 index cards here.
We're ready to roll.
We're ready to
mark this scene.
Did you write a number on it, or was it just a folded card?
And that was another question. I was like, should I note like tire track? And Carl's like, no, just hit it on there. We can see it. And we will reference it later.
I'll be honest with you. After last week, I don't know if I believe a word he says anymore. Because now Carl has basically told us that everything he told us was a lie.
He said, "I took you 85 to 90% of the way. 40 maybe tops."
Do you know the laughs that Carl would have had with his cop buddies in the pub when they watched that episode? And he's like, "I told him that if they're out of tents, just to use index cards."
This guy, can you believe it?
TV police. What a joke. So the folding of the tent, putting it down, that would have been probably stepped on or kicked over by the local PD who was like, sorry, I just thought it was an index card. Who would put that there with no notes?
Picked it up going, what is this garbage? Get this out of the crime.
Come on. No label at all. Cho was extra sassy in this episode. Did you notice that?
No. What do you mean?
In the conversation with Rulon, there was a touch of maybe Cho had got out on the wrong side of the bed. A Cho zinger as well. With a low-carb diet, you could look very different. That was the beginnings of those scathing comments. But what was interesting is that you push at him and you push at him. And yet, ultimately, in the rule-abiding policeman that you are, you say, we've got nothing. I got nothing and I can't, and he's unashamed. There's literally nothing I can do here. But what he was great at doing was also establishing Amanda's disgust. I mean, that face.
That was part of Cho's extra saltiness.
Sure.
Was I got my, and, when Cho and Rigsby are together, it's the same thing. Yeah. I got your back. And so as soon as Cho sees that Van Pelt is thoroughly disgusted, and not that it took Van Pelt to get Cho there, but to back Van Pelt's play, Cho's going to get a little bit salty with good old Rulon.
Well, the three of us, because I appreciated you getting Van Pelt's back. There's a great insert shot of me when he says something to her, and you just see me with the headphones on go,
"Oh yeah, I love that." That was yes.
No one messes with my girl. What I loved about this episode was the feeling of we are really stretching the team dynamic now. You had another nice tight shirt on, which I noticed. Didn't miss. Didn't miss that. And I feel like we're beginning to expand the color palette a little.
Yeah, right. I noticed that too. Yeah.
You were out of the brown suit for at least a couple scenes.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
I appreciated that, and I think I might have been almost in casual wear. So let's dive in at this juncture into your word. Remind us of your one word.
Yeah. 1.5 words.
1.5 words.
You are.
I feel like you just do this deliberately, though. If I'd said to you it's a 3-word thing, you'd be like, I've got 2.
How about, can I do 5?
Can I do 5? Yeah. Right, sure.
All right, so my one word is...
Awesome.
Awesome, right?
So cool of you to...
Should I do... You know what? I'm going to do my half word first. Because this was a nod to you.
Thank you.
So my half word in brackets is snot.
Snot.
And that's a throwback to the character Hope in Red Tide was your touchstone. And this character, Nicole Gilbert, also just what she was doing. There was stuff everywhere. And the actor did a phenomenal job. But every time, man, I looked over and there was a lot going on. The reason I chose awesome, there was so much awesome in this episode. Let's start the awesome list. Jane, awesome. The idea at the end to use the cell phone as a distraction to buy Lisbon some time. Lisbon, the gunfight. That was a straight up Doc Holliday, Johnny Ringo gunfight. Lisbon says, I really and truly do not want to hurt you.
Yeah.
And Ranger Kyle looks back and says, you like your chances, do you?
You like your chances?
Yeah. I'm your Huckleberry. You know, it was awesome. Next, Rigsby.
Yes.
First, eating the ketchup packet. Awesome. Like, I need some food. There's no food in ketchup. Ketchup is food. I will eat it. And then, obviously, at the end, the cool Rigsby one-liner. Give it to me again, right?
Seriously, drop it.
Pan over to you. Seriously, drop it. And then finally, Van Pelt kicking Rulon in the balls.
Oh, also awesome, the fact that two grown men were completely unable to deal with Rulon. And we had to be rescued, thankfully, by the wonderful Van Pelt, who was waiting outside. That was such a wonderful comic beat.
The last shot before Van Pelt comes in was through his legs, him with Cho in a headlock, and Cho just
wailing.
Nothing, no effect.
Nothing.
And then Van Pelt comes in and saves the day. Awesome.
But I'm glad you. So that is an awesome list, and I agree with every single awesome. Now let's engage with the not so awesome.
Okay.
And I would say at the top of the not so awesome list is, what was Rigsby doing in that fight? Because so let's just rewalk the beats. Okay, I'm the biggest guy in the room. Not necessarily saying that has any impact. Quite often, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. But I would like to think that I maybe got one shot in. Okay, I'm clearly not going to be the guy with the highest body count. But allow me to maybe get a swing in or a headlock or something. So this is what we see. We see the men's toilet. We come inside, then we see the face-off, and you know that Rulon is a bad piece of work because he's drinking a beer whilst he's peeing, and that's a special kind of bad. He's in the bathroom, and he hasn't let the visit to the bathroom interrupt the flow of drinking.
Yes.
That's when you know you're dealing with a straight badass.
That's got to be added to the awesome list.
Add that to the awesome list, no question. Yeah. Now, on the not so awesome side is the fact that we cut away from this, we see the face-off, and then some sort of rush happens. And in the rush, okay, Rulon comes at both of us. We're here, Rulon comes here, and then somehow I'm now on the other side of the room on the floor. You're in a headlock, but at least getting some,
some shots,
some rib shots in. Enter Van Pelt, huge kick in the nuts. And, I did remember thinking to myself, what has happened in this breakaway that has landed me on the floor? There's a wonderful comic beat where she's waiting politely outside the men's bathroom, like, do I go in? Do I, and then just bites the bullet. But in that interim,
you're right.
I would give anything to know what happened to Rick. It's like he ran at me and somehow I teleported to the other side of the room. And he hit me so hard that maybe I bounced off the door, flew to the other side. Also notable this episode for the world's fastest TV cuffing. And I have to say that I can take no credit for this. So we have the final standoff. Lisbon, seriously drop it. He goes to the knees. And I didn't cuff him. But if you watch this back,
you did cuff him.
Well, I did, yeah, but I didn't. So again, ruining the magic. This is what happens. I grab his hand, and as I'm pulling his hand down, you hear this zik, zik. The hand didn't even get down. I haven't even pulled out the cuffs. But in that TV suspended magic moment, zip, straight and out. He's arrested. This episode was very much about throwing that Rulon character under the bus and suspending him because it seemed to fit it. And I think that has become quite a recurrent motif in the show. He fits the profile. That was something I really wished we dug into more with Carl. How often is the guy who just seems to be the guy actually the guy? Yeah. Because in TV police world, obviously, it's far more entertaining to have a misdirect and a divert. And funnily enough, that seems to be almost taking from that mentalist fountain of mentalism is about redirection. It's about sending you here. It's about sending you here. And we're doing that with the plot. We're actually saying, okay, it's this guy. This guy is obviously going to be the guy or not. It's a good moment for a big quench. The TV police, soon to be brought to you by Big Quench. Can we actually start a drink line? Could we just start a drink called Big Quench and sponsor the show with our own drink? And it will be available in flavors like, Rigsby or...
I like Rigsby. Did you just come up with that?
I just came up with that. Yeah. I'm trying to think of a good one for
Rigsby.
Rigsby, Big Quench. I like that. Yeah. And what could shows be? Just invent our own drink line.
Rigsby and Stone Apple.
The sets. The Stone Apple and Rigsby.
Are we going to do your word or no?
Oh, that's right. I didn't do my word. So my word was catsup. Ketchup.
Right.
Not catsup. It is ketchup. And again, I feel like mine are very on the nose.
There we go. Yep.
But this was I can't remember if this came about from something that I did in the car or if it was scripted. Because I think I was supposed to be eating something and we didn't have craft service or something down on the lot. It was one of those things where, you remember Sullivan's Tavern was shot on the Warner Brothers lot, right? Mm-hmm. Warner Brothers is a huge sprawling studio that has a lot of sound sets, but at the back they also have areas that are streets, right?
Exteriors.
So we have exterior streets that we shot the parents in, for example, Cole Gilbert's parents, and many, many others. And there's this sort of wild overgrown area with a lake right at the back that doubles as forest or anything that's like murky or swampy. And I remember not having a lot of snack options, so I think I just took some condiments. And I think that bit in the car was created by me not having any snacks. I think so.
That was improvised, right?
Like, I think so, because
even Robin's line of there's nothing in here, you ate everything, or something. Something to that effect.
I got a feeling we made that up because there was some other bit. And this is what I really appreciated also about the writers, is that we would often find little things that, if they worked well with the storyline, they were very open to it. And I think that was probably another reason why the show was as successful as it was, because there was a genuine sense of collaboration. And I've been on projects where people are very precious about, this is the line, say it like this, do it like this. I never felt like that with our show. I felt like The Mentalist was you obviously want the salient information to be communicated, but if there was an idea that might communicate something or get a character trope or something across, they were always very open and welcome to that. Did you feel like that too?
I absolutely felt like that. When the whole first 5-10 episodes, we're throwing stuff against the wall and seeing what sticks. I think that just went over into our dialogue as well, and trying to flesh out each of these characters. I was going to say Owain. Rigsby would fully eat a ketchup packet if he couldn't find anything else to eat, right? And the fact that you picked up on that, you suggested it, and the writers went with it. Yeah, it all goes in with that. And I totally felt that throughout the entire run of the show. Was they were absolutely open to those ideas.
I guess it's about the receptivity to that idea.
Right. That's true.
I remember we had a fun scene in that same area of Warner Brothers. I don't remember what season it was, but there was a guy who had a bunch of antiques and bric-a-brac in a barn, and he has this big drum or something, and I pick up a sword and I end up putting the sword through the drum. Do you remember that?
I remember that.
And it was one of those things where I picked it up, and in rehearsal I accidentally just skewered the drum, and I was like, that's really funny. I think we can have that. And so little things like that they're fun for an actor also when you get to set and you can discover some business. You have in your, and I'd love for you to talk maybe a little bit about your process, because we've never really discussed preparation as an actor. How do you go about the process of preparing, and how does it differ now that you're in a character that's beginning to bed in a little bit? This is not like a movie where you're shooting one scene. Talk to us a bit about your process, what that looks like.
I think we touched on it in some of the earlier episodes. It's really understanding and knowing not only the script and the story, but how show fits into that script and story. And throughout my time as a drama student all the way till now, I've never found a shortcut for that. I have to read the script 10 times minimum, right? Really, put myself into it. And the only way to do that is repetition, especially these first 5, 10 scripts. I would say I read them upwards of 20, 25, 30, you know what I mean? Just beginning to end, just read it. Because, and to me, it really works for me. The first few reads, you start discovering things and you discover less and less on the 7th read. But then on the 8th read, you pick up something else.
Sure.
The 9th read, you don't pick up anything. 10th, no, nothing. The 11th read, another little morsel. And so that to me ends up filling out what I want to do as Cho in this world. So that's the beginning parts of it. And then, as you pointed out, once you get on set, and you see with that kind of preparation or that kind of knowledge of what's going on in the scene as well as the episode, you can arrive on set and look at a sword and a drum and put the sword through the drum. You know what I mean?
Right.
And come up with these moments because you're not preoccupied with, oh, what's my line? What's happening in this scene? So that's just in a nutshell how I approach it.
It's a fascinating approach, and one that I remember hearing Anthony Hopkins does that same thing, and he's done okay. He's someone who I've admired tremendously throughout his career. I watched an interview with him where he talked about the exact process. He said, I want to know not just my part, but every part, backwards and forwards. I have a very similar approach to you. Let me get a full understanding of this, as deep a cerebral hold on it as I can, because then I can start thinking about what that looks like emotionally. I remember I had a drama teacher who said to me, look at what you say as a character, and then look at what other characters say about you, because that is really revealing. There's a difference between the way you perceive yourself, your ego version of the character, and the way the exterior world perceives you. It's a breakneck process in terms of speed. And I think for those people who haven't had an experience of it, we can just throw a little light on that now. So an episode is shot typically in about 7 or 8 days. And within that time, as we're shooting now, 23 episodes.
And then bookending the 7 to 8 shoot days, you have 2-3 days of prep for the episode. Right. And then maybe, 3-4 days after the episode wraps, there's post-production, right? All the
post-production. So we'll be doing ADR after directing, recording. Exactly. And then some days we would have double ups. We would be shooting maybe bits from episode 4 and bits from episode 5, trying not to confuse them.
Adding a scene for an episode because it doesn't work quite the way that with the existing scenes. So we need to put in a transitional scene and
right.
You're doing 3 episodes all at once, going, where was I in this?
I changed my process a little bit as we went on. I used to be very much, I would take the script and I would devour it and I would just end to end try and memorize it. And then I realized that there were a ton of rewrites. So you don't get very precious about that first draft. That first draft is take it, understand the shape of it, but don't get too attached to it, because there's probably going to be 2 or 3 versions before you actually shoot that version.
And you'll start to see it happen for all of us as the episodes roll by and the seasons roll by, is that we know our characters at a certain point.
Yeah.
And so now it becomes automatic and that process gets truncated. I don't necessarily need to read my script 20 times, and you might not necessarily want to do that because rewrites will come in and your lines will change.
I do remember there was nothing more frustrating, not just on this project, but on any project, than learning something and then having just a subtle rewrite, just something enough to mess with you. So, Cara Palmer's car alarm now becomes something with one word just different to throw you.
It was those changes that I tried in true drama school fashion and attitude. I tried to understand and accept some of these minute sort of changes.
I do recall there being many times where all of us were on set and we would just have those days where for whatever reason it just wasn't going in. And I think a big part of that was it would change and it would change just enough.
And so and because you know that it will change inevitably, there is that psychological thing going in there where you're trying to learn the lines, but your mind goes, you're not going to have to learn these lines. Don't learn the lines. I'm not going to memorize these. But you physically yourself are
evil
going,
little devil Cho.
Yeah. And
devil Cho, angel Cho.
Yeah.
Learn the lines, Tim. Learn the lines.
Yeah.
You're never going to say these lines, Tim.
Don't forget it. The other thing that comes up too is in that vein is we didn't have a whole lot of stuff on Jane Lisbon focused episodes. So you get a natural rhythm of learning the lines and budgeting your time. I remember it would roll around to, like, say, a Cho episode, and there'd be a lot of dialogue that I wasn't used to learning that amount of dialogue. And so
Right.
I would look at the schedule and go, oh, everything's backloaded. Like, this is great. I've got 3 or 4 days to learn my stuff. And then the night before we would shoot the first day of that episode, they go, we lost the location. Tim, we're going to do all your scenes at the front. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I haven't even looked at it. I got to learn 10 pages for tomorrow. And thankfully, you know, we had a support group there to help us through some of the times. But I remember some of that and just thinking, oh, how am I going to get this done?
Well, we were very lucky. We had our continuity, Cheryl Starbuck.
Cheryl, yeah.
I remember very fondly. Cheryl was wonderful.
She was
and
great.
You need someone who can be mentally nimble, but also can be tremendously kind in that position. It was remarkable to me the amount of detail that Cheryl could just absorb in one go, because this is a phenomenally difficult job to look at every frame and make sure any timestamps that are showing, any things that you've worn, if you're smoking a cigarette, that it's at the same side, if you're drinking a drink, that it's at, you know, the remarkable level of immersion. And then on top of that,
It's the definition of attention to detail is
it really
all
is.
it is.
It really is. And Cheryl was incredibly kind, I think, also to us, because we were all in that same boat. We were all trying to make a juggernaut show in a very short period of time. And you are shooting a mini movie every single week. Now, I want to jump in at this point. I've just thought of a great one. So Rigsby,
Okay.
Coca-Cola. Come on, the Big Quench Coca-Cola. That's going to sell out.
All right.
Coca-Cola and Rigsby.
Yeah.
I'm going to shoot the commercial tonight.
And my favorite way of building that is half and half. Half Rigsby, half Coca-Cola. Oh, it's so good.
The Chigsby.
Yeah.
That is that is the
Yes.
Chigsby.
Big Quench, half Rigsby, half Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the stuff of dreams. What do you actually have in there right now? Tequila?
Just vodka, straight vodka.
Straight vodka. Amazing. So whilst you're sipping on your Coca-Cola, I thought, given that show is arguably one of our finest detectives on the team and someone who we've seen from the little place cards, he's someone who likes to go the extra mile. I thought I wouldn't insult you with a layman's quiz. I've devised a quiz that's very detail oriented. So this is seeing how much you're paying attention. So are you ready to take my season 1, episode 5 Redwood challenge quiz?
Ready.
Proudly sponsored by
Big Quench.
the roadside crime scene. What make and model is the abandoned car where Kara's body is discovered?
I believe it is a convertible Volkswagen Cabriolet.
That's very impressive. It is a VW. Yes. Sheriff Nelson. Okay, so do you remember the name of the deputy?
Sheriff Nelson.
Yes. What's the name of Sheriff Nelson? Sheriff Nelson. Very good. You passed with flying colours. Nailed it. Do you remember the deputy's name who owned the dog Dexter?
Deputy Dexter. No, I don't.
I'll give you a clue. His first name's Deputy.
Yes, it is. It is Deputy. Yes.
Deputy Parker.
Deputy Parker. Okay.
Parker. I mean, Deputy Parker and Palmer's car alarm.
Car alarm.
It's a lot going on there. What were they celebrating at Sullivan's Tavern the night of the murder?
They were celebrating They were celebrating Nicole Gilbert's engagement.
Correct.
Yes.
Impressive. So when she's talking with Jane, she says that the engine sounded like when she's been hypnotized and she's recalling the sound of the car.
Yes. These are great quiz questions.
Thank you. I have some experience as an amateur pub quiz.
I was gonna say, were you? Yeah.
Done 2 or 3. It's not my first roundabout.
I don't remember. I don't recall. Oh wait, I'll just take a guess.
Okay.
A river.
So she recalls that the car sounded like it was a diesel car.
Diesel. Okay.
So yeah, because he says to her.
So not a river. That's like
not a river, but she does. You're
river.
not wrong. She does think she hears water, which Lisbon ends up then I think saying it's not water, but it's in fact the rushing sound of traffic. Do you remember the name of the park ranger who was the killer?
Yes, Ranger Kyle.
Kyle, that's right. Yeah.
Yes.
And do you remember the name of the suspect who we initially apprehend and talk to?
Yes, Jason O'Toole.
And bonus points if you can tell me what kind of industry he worked in.
He was a logger, I believe.
Yeah, wow. You basically got all of them right. That's impressive. Now, I will say this, one thing that I forgot to discuss with you. Jason was very muddy. Did you notice that? I know logging is not a clean, lumber is probably a pretty dirty business, but
sure.
He literally looked like he'd just taken a bath in mud. There was a lot of mud on his back as well.
Well, I think to be fair, he was actually coming back from looking for Nicole, right?
Rewatch that section because I was intrigued as to why he was so muddy.
Well, but even so, even looking for Nicole, was he on his hands and knees rooting through the bushes?
You know,
snow angels,
that was the thing that really, really threw me was just how much mud was on his back. I was like, was he crawling through the forest, looking up maybe from the floor? We had an amazing costumier. Cindy, do you remember Cindy?
Yes.
And
she was fantastic.
She was amazing and so sweet and so kind.
That was really good.
And I always thought of her very, very fondly. I got the chance to work with her again on something else, and just a real family member. But I do have it. Just put me in mind of so many times when I was covered in because it's the dresser's job to come and cover you in stains and mud, and I remember being on a project and this person putting dust and mud and stuff all over me. I was like, it's amazing, what is that? It looks exact. She's like, it's mud, it's dust. I was like, that's why it looks. I thought it was some strange magical costume thing. No, that's mud. We just picked it up outside the train. Okay, very good. I was very, very impressed by your knowledge of the episode. Congratulations. You may proceed to episode 6. You can pass go and collect $200.
How many ketchup packets did you end up eating? Do you remember?
Yeah, I knew you were going to ask me that. I would probably say 5 or 6, but it was definitely catsup and not ketchup.
Yeah.
This was a strange non-branded ketchup because obviously it had to feature on the show.
Right.
That is a special kind of hungry to go for the condiments.
Yeah. And keeping just perfectly in line with Rigsby.
And that brings us up to speed, I think, on episode 105 Redwood. I feel like we didn't really delve deep into this episode, but it did give us the opportunity to maybe go off on some tangents. I don't know if you're going to be coming away from any of these with any nuggets of critical insight. But
well, I think that in the first few episodes, you've done a great job.
Thank you. You too.
Leading the critical insight.
Like a good English student that I am. And I approach this. Thank you. I approach this as a sort of exercise.
I think it's okay now that we, go off on remembrances and stories. And
I agree too. And I think there is no definitive answer of what this show is or what it represents, or it's what it is to you. And for us, this is our rewatch, and our rewatch involves an awful lot of esoteric and slightly odd and slightly off-topic stories.
If you want to go rewatch the series, you don't need us to do that. You can go rewatch it.
But what a richer process it will be rewatching with us. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts for joining us for this wonderful episode of the TV Police. And we are very, very excited for next episode 6, which is entitled Red-Handed. So do not miss next week. We will be dropping more video episodes upcoming as well. Thank you so much for following the show, and stay tuned to the TV Police.
Let's go.
The TV Police.
I remember telling you that joke years ago, I think. So, guy walks into a bar, right? And he's got a massive orange for a head. walks up to the bar, grabs a drink, and the barman goes, "Hope you don't mind me asking, but how'd you get the orange for the head?" And he goes, "Oh well, I met a guy who was a genie, and he said I grant you 3 wishes." He said, "Oh yeah." He goes, "What do you want for wish 1?" He goes, "Well, all the money in the world." He goes, "Great, okay, there you go, all the money in the world." He's got all the money in the world. Second wish, he goes, "I'd like to be really, really attractive to women." He goes, "Okay, great, all the money in the world, attractive to women. Got one wish left. What's your last wish going to be?" And he goes, "I'd like a massive orange for a head." There it is.
That's the worst, best joke.
Thank you.